This video will discuss performing runs tests on a range control chart. The runs tests that we'll discuss are the tests for 5 points above or below the center line of the chart, or a trend of 5 points moving in one direction or the other. The runs tests don't differ based on the type of control chart. This particular data is 40 samples of 10 bags of concrete premix. Each of the bags has been weighed and the range has been calculated. The range control chart has been created to see if there are any changes in the variability of the process over time, or if the variability of the process is consistent over time. This range control chart clearly shows a recurring pattern that would be concerning, even though there's no points outside the control limit. To perform the runs test, one thing that's useful is to remove the markers from the lines on the Excel chart. If we right-click on one of the lines and click Format Data Series, the option on the left gives us the opportunity to change the markers. We expand marker options, and then with one of the series highlighted, can just change this to none. If we choose, we can change the upper and lower control limits as well. This just allows us to see the points a little better in relation to the lines. First, let's look at the runs test for points trending in one direction or the other. If we start with the first point, there are 3 points here that are trending upward. But that doesn't meet our criteria of 5 or more. The next point trends slightly downward. So it won't be till the 5th point that we start a new run of points upward. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 points going upward. But that's still fewer than our criteria of 5 points. The series changes directions here at point 9, and then we start a new run of points upward at point 10. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points going upward, clearly exceeding our criteria. So there's one run of points that we would want to investigate. It appears here that something is happening over the course of an 8-hour shift that's increasing the variability in the samples, the weights of bags that are in these samples. The range starts out small at the beginning of the 8-hour shift and then increases as the shift progresses. This means at the end of the shift, there's a large difference between the small bags and the heaviest bags of concrete. So people could get bags of concrete in this scenario and have as much as 5 pounds difference, which could definitely cause a problem with mixing the concrete for a production process or construction process. After the series goes downward, we see another run of several points upward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This type of pattern clearly happens with every shift, and we can identify the pattern with the runs tests on several of the shifts. Again, we see another run of more than 5 points upward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in this case. Obviously, circling these and marking them on the chart is just optional, but it helps us to potentially explain the runs test. Here again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points trending in the same direction. So by using the runs test for trends, we've identified some conditions that we would want to investigate to make sure the output of the process is more consistent and to improve the process going forward. What we see here is that we would probably pick up some of these conditions with the runs test above or below the center line as well. In this case, for above or below the center line, we're looking at runs of 5 points in a row or more on one side of the center line. So to start with, we have 4 points here that are all below the center line. And we have 4 points here that are above the center line. Neither of these meet our criteria. Again, we have 4 points below, 4 points above, 3 points below, and in this case we have 5 points above. We'll mark that as a separate run. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points all below, and we can see sometimes what the value is of removing the markers from the center line. That allows us to see that this point is below the center line. It's possible that we might need to go in and look at the actual data and see if that point truly is below the center line. We can see that it is in this case. Here we have one more run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points all below the center line. If we want to highlight these in different colors or something like that to make them stand out, we can certainly do that. So the blue lines represent trends of points 5 or more in a row going up. The red lines represent trends of 5 points on one side or the other of the control line. All of these represent conditions that we would want to investigate.